Hello, and this is Delia again, and I've got another story in the Vampire Diaries. This is The Struggle. I'm on on chapter 12, and we've just read the part where Elena has invited Matt for Thanksgiving dinner, and he said that he can't refuse an invitation like that. He said in an oddly muted voice, but when he put the magazine back and followed her out, he was smiling too. Okay, so we continue on. Bonnie greeted him cheerfully when they got home. Aunt Judith looked pleased to see him come into the kitchen. "Dinner's almost ready," she said, taking the grocery bag from Elena. "Robert got here a few minutes ago. Why don't you go straight on back to the dining room? Oh, and get another chair, Elena. Matt makes 7. 6, Aunt Judith," said Elena, amused. "You and Robert, me and Margaret, Matt and Bonnie." "Yes, dear, but Robert's brought a guest too. They're already sitting down." Elena registered the words just as she stepped through the dining room door, but there was an instant's delay before her mind reacted to them. Even so, she knew, stepping through the door, she somehow knew what was waiting for her. Robert was standing there, fiddling with a bottle of white wine and looking jovial. And sitting at the table on the far side of the autumn centerpiece and the tall lighted candles was Damon. Elena realized she had stopped moving when Bonnie ran into her from behind. Then she forced her legs into action. Her mind wasn't as obedient. It remained frozen. "Ah, Elena," Robert said, holding out a hand. "This is Elena, the girl I was telling you about," he said to Damon. "Elena, this is Damon." "Ah, Smith," said Damon. "Oh, yes, he's from my alma mater, William and Mary, and I just ran into him outside the drugstore. Since he was looking for some place to eat, I invited him along here for a home-cooked meal. Damon, these are some friends of Elena's, Matt and Bonnie." "Hi," said Matt. Bonnie just stared. Then she swung enormous eyes at Elena. Elena was trying to get a grip on herself. She didn't know whether to shriek, march out of the room, or throw the glass of wine that Robert was pouring in Damon's face. She was too angry for the moment to be frightened. Matt went to bring in a chair from the living room. Elena wondered at his casual acceptance of Damon, and then realized he hadn't been at a lark's party. He wouldn't know what had happened there between Stephen and the visitor from college. Bonnie, though, looked really ready to panic. She was gazing at Elena imploringly. Damon had risen and was holding out a chair for her. Before Elena could come up with a response, she heard Margaret's high little voice in the hallway. "Matt, do you want to see my kitty? Aunt Judith says I can keep her. I'm going to call her Snowball." Elena turned, fired with an idea. "She's cute," Matt was saying obligingly. Bending over the little mound of white fur in Margaret's arms. He looked startled as Elena unceremoniously grabbed the kitten from under his nose. "Here, Margaret, let's show your kitty to Robert's friend," she said, and thrust the fluffy little bundle into Damon's face, all but throwing it at him. All right, so this is part, I don't know what part it is, but anyway, I'll continue.